Now that we've defined stress and we have talked about the response and looked at the potentially harmful effects that it can have on our body, we're going to talk about psychological responses to stress that can help us be more resilient. Resilience is the capacity to adapt to stressors, to achieve well-being, to cope with stress, even in spite of some really significant challenges. Some components of having a resilient mindset are perceived control, or not the degree to which we're actually in control of our circumstances, but the degree to which we perceive or we believe we're in control of our circumstances. Communication, having realistic goals, and also having empathy and experiencing empathy from others and experiencing compassion from others. Albert Bandura coined the term self efficacy. So these are our internal beliefs about our own competency or our ability to complete a task or our ability to do something. In this case, we're talking about our self efficacy relative to our ability to manage stress. So if I have a high self efficacy relative to stress, it means that I believe as though I can successfully manage it. These high levels of self efficacy relative to stress mean that I might be less likely to experience negative stress feelings because, again, I feel as though I can cope with it. I feel as though I can manage it. This perception of being in control, again, rather than the reality of being in or out of control, but the perception of being in control, can really help act as a buffer to negative stress. I've read some stuff that says even very, very small elements of perceived control, or just the belief that we can control just very small facets of a problem, are coming to that realization that we have control over that small or little component of it, can actually really lead to a big improvement in our well being. Coping with stress can take several different forms. We're going to look at problem focused coping versus emotion focused coping. In problem focused coping, we're reducing the stressors themselves. So we're dealing with the problem or we're dealing with the situation. So we're working out a conflict that exists, we're tackling something that might be difficult, or we're breaking down a difficult project into more manageable pieces. And all of these things are good. They do come with a risk, like we're not dealing with the emotions. If we're only dealing with the situation or the problem, we might magnify our emotional distress. Emotion focused coping, on the other hand, means we're reducing the emotional component of the stress. So we're seeking out social support, we're getting compassion from others, we're seeking out perspectives from other people. And with this, we risk, of course, ignoring the problem. We might focus only on the emotions and not on the problem itself. So it might be like a quick fix. We might focus on this style of coping when we perceive the stressor as something we can't control. So when we have the feeling of being out of control, we might focus more on the emotions as opposed to dealing with the problem. But again, these are just two different strategies. Research has shown that it's more effective to use problem-focused coping than emotion-focused coping. Again, if we're only trying to deal with the emotions, that could sometimes lead us to completely ignoring the problem. And quick fixes that might be used in emotion focused coping are things like using drugs and alcohol and other techniques that in the long term, or in the short term and in the long term, are very unhealthy. So, a much better strategy for reducing stress in the long term is dealing with the actual problem or the root cause of the stress. And we talked a little bit about healthy versus unhealthy healthy coping strategies at the beginning of this unit, but these are just some reminders of what are healthy and unhealthy coping strategies. So now let's talk about how to promote health. I want to really emphasize here social support. When we have social support from other people, it helps calms us. It helps reduce our blood pressure and reduce the secretion of stress hormones, which in turn can help the functioning of our immune system, make us better able to fight off disease. We sometimes call this open heart therapy, feeling as though we can open up to another person and confide in them. These are all really important ways to promote health and cope with stress. And I love this Brene Brown quote here. We don't have to do all of it alone. We were never meant to. And that's really the truth. We did not evolve to be um, nearly as self reliant as we would think. We evolved to be part of a group because it's advantageous to feel as though we're part of a group. And there is always someone there to help you. You just really have to know where you can reach out. And I hope this course helps provide you with some resources as far as where you can reach out if you feel like you need help. Another way to promote health is through exercise, and I don't mean exercise for the purpose of changing your body. I mean exercising in an intuitive way, not necessarily a punishing workout unless you really enjoy punishing workouts, but exercising in the sense that you're moving your body in ways that make you feel good. No matter what that is, whether it's going out for a walk around your neighborhood or doing some yoga, or maybe it is that punishing workout because that feels good for you. But I want to emphasize that when I talk about exercise, I don't mean exercising for the purpose of, really of having an effect on your body or changing your body image. Just exercising in a way that makes you intuitively feel good. And finally, mindfulness. I have a great clip that I'll show you about the benefits of mindfulness, but it can help strengthen connections among your brain regions and activate brain regions that are associated with awareness. Oftentimes, when we're in the midst of a stress response, we're in the midst of a stressful situation, we can't think clearly. We are in autopilot. Our brain, remember, is a creature of habit. We operate so much on that low road of unconsciousness or not being aware. But what mindfulness can actually do is to train your brain to be more aware. So it can help us label emotions and also find appropriate ways or identify appropriate ways to cope with them. And it can also help calm brain activation when we're in emotional situations, again, by promoting that level of awareness. Like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to spiral. I'm getting caught in a trap of negative thoughts. Let's turn that around and let's reverse it. And I think this quote is really important as we're finishing this up. We overestimate the duration of our emotions and underestimate our resiliency and capacity to adapt. We have this capacity to become more resilient, but part of the battle is just recognizing what it means to be resilient and recognizing what it means to, be kind of spiraling out of control, and also seeing what it takes to just find those small parts of a problem that we can be in control of so that we increase that perception of control, thereby increasing our resiliency.